Everybody, welcome to one more round with Josh Norris. Today I'm excited. I have my friend Laura Stratton, a partner at Burn It Build It. Sport my Burn It Build It t-shirt today. So Laura has extensive experience in the area of fitness, both as a player and a coach. On top of this, she is a certified strength and conditioning specialist. She works as a strength and conditioning coach at the collegiate level for 5 conference championship teams, including 4 Olympians, 12 NCAA All-Americans, and a National Player of the Year, just to name a few. Since nutrition is an essential part of being healthy, Laura has become certified to teach the Precision Nutrition program developed by John Berardi. In addition to this, Laura has taught biomechanics, weight training, anatomy, and physiology at the university level. For 2 years, she's worked as a semi-pro strength and conditioning coach, working with minor league players who eventually feed into Major League Soccer teams, most notably the Real Salt Lake team. And now she's a partner with Burn It Build It Fitness. Well, welcome, Laura. Excited to have you.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, so I guess it's been 2 days, so I've seen you pretty recently. Yeah, so you're a partner at Burn It Build It Fitness.
Correct.
And you've had that for how many years have you guys been in business?
Oh man, at Burn It Build It, we've been back in Arizona for 8 years, but for about 7 years up in Washington, we're up there as well, which is when I earned my partnership.
Okay, very cool. And then you started in the basically in the fitness business on helping strength athletes and performance athletes and that kind of thing. So it's
I kind of fell into fitness.
Did you?
Yeah, so I started off, I was a collegiate athlete and then played a little bit overseas in Paris, Amsterdam, and Belgium, and was like, playing overseas is not like playing in the United States.
Yeah.
And so I came back and decided just to start coaching. So I coached collegiately for about 7 years, and while I was doing that, I worked on and got my master's and got a double master's degree, and then coached basketball and made athletes faster, quicker, stronger. So it allowed me some great opportunities where I worked with a men's semi-pro soccer team that fed into the Salt Lake Real. So I was their strength conditioning coach for 2 years, and the rest is kind of history. Then when the market kind of crashed, I left a job in Colorado and came down to Arizona.
Okay.
And I was picked up at the junior college level, but the junior college level did not pay what the other levels paid. So I needed something to kind of just offset my income that I could do around coaching. And fitness worked really, really well because you could make your schedule. So I walked into a gym called Pure Fitness, and 3 months later I was running the gym, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Loved it.
That's awesome. And you were quite the college basketball player, correct? Yeah, I know you've talked about that. So did you initially go overseas to play? And I know I'm backing up.
Yeah.
But what was it like playing at that level of basketball?
It's when you play in the States, it's really smooth because there's a general language that everyone kind of talks about. You know how to get through screens, defensive schemes, and just random cuts, and there's a very common language. And so I was very fortunate. My college coach was Jeff Judkins, and he was Rick Majerus' assistant coach at University of Utah back when they won the national championship, made it to the Final Four. So he recruited Keith Van Horn and Andre Miller and all these great players, and he himself played at University of Utah and then went on and was drafted by the Boston Celtics. So he played with Larry Bird, and then he kind of bounced around Portland Trailblazers and ended up in Utah Jazzland, right? So I wanted to play for a coach that would give me an opportunity to win a national championship. And so that's the whole reason why I ended up going and playing for him, is because I grew up in Montana, and there's not a lot of opportunities in Montana. And I had great scholarship offers, but no one's getting out of the Big Sky doesn't do much, unfortunately. So I had to get out of that conference and get with a coach that could really teach and educate.
Right.
And so the great thing that I learned from him is he brought an NBA style of play to our college team. So how we game schemed, how we prepared for teams was just another level up, I felt. So you got a bunch of white girls being able to compete at a high level just because we were able to scheme and take people out of things that they do well. And so when you take that type of environment, and we were very good. We were ranked in the top 25 2 out of the 4 years. We made it Sweet 16. We always made it through the 2-time conference championship, 26-6 records. We were a very competitive quality team. And to go from that atmosphere to playing overseas where the levels are all over the map. You have 2 foreign players per team. It doesn't necessarily even mean like 2 United States players. So if you're in the Italian league and have somebody from France in your league, they're foreign too. So if you're not Italian blood, then you're a foreign player. So going from a likelihood of dialogue, game scheming, to now they're in your way, they don't know what you're saying. It wasn't as much fun at the time. I think if I was to do it now, I'd be like, everyone get out of my way and just let me and one and hoop it up and go and do whatever I want. But back then, I was that facilitator, I was the point guard, I liked creating things. And so it wasn't as much fun because they didn't know what I was doing.
So is that why you wanted to go into coaching eventually?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what was the first coaching job like?
I was at a Division II school in Silver City, New Mexico, and we were required to get our CDL because we drove the bus. So I was like, there's nothing like driving the Colorado mountain passes at 2 o'clock in the morning during a snowstorm with, one heater, a hole in the bus, so you have to wear a flip-flop on one foot and a boot on the other,
Yeah.
So it was a change of pace coming from the luxury that we had as a Division I athlete to going to Division II, where now you're busing and you're 16-hour road trips, and then you're coaching these kids and waiting a couple hours for you to jump on the bus and just drive all night to the next spot. So it was definitely a change of scene and a change of venue, but the coaching was great. I still enjoyed that aspect in the practice and recruiting and the relationships you build with your girls and the people that you want to kind of start to create your team with. That's the best part.
So at the end of the interview then for that job, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you need your CDL. Did you know what a CDL was?
No, I had no idea. No idea.
I would have had no idea at that age.
No idea. So I'm qualified to drive everything that doesn't have air brakes.
Sweet.
Yeah. School buses, good to go.
Yeah. No, it's a cool story. So you went into coaching, and then like the strength and conditioning. How did you get more into that side?
It was always an interest of mine. I was on the 5-year plan in college, and so my strength conditioning coach was an All-American wrestler, and he used to beat the ever-living tar out of us. Yeah. And just the programming aspects was always fascinating to me because I'm not the tallest individual, so I always had to be better with my angles. I had to be faster. I had to be quicker. I had to be stronger. I had to have a better idea of what to do to offset the 5'9", 5'10" point guards. So I'd team up with him, and he'd just beat me down, and so then come my junior and senior year, we'd start writing programs together. And then he actually let me, my senior year, take over some of the teams and actually train them because we were team writing these programs. So he'd let me just kind of be on his hip. And so we write different programs, we train all the teams and the players, and then it got to the point where he would let me run all the conditioning and the strength training for them. And he'd kind of oversee it, and then that led me to working with some club teams and, rugby and, soccer and lacrosse and men's volleyball, women's soccer. So I got a good variety of a bunch of different styles of players and then helping, little grad assistants that came through and would do swimming and track and field, and how does the programming work for them to give them an idea of what to do. And so that kind of started at a very early age. So I just kind of embraced that aspect and applied it to every team I was with and at every university I was with. So if they didn't have a good quality strength coach, I could throw in some programming and things like that to help their teams out to kind of bring another level of attention to them.
Nice. So you were in that part of your career, you're to JUCO, not paying very much.
No.
Walk into this Pure Fitness, kind of probably doe-eyed a little bit, like, cool, I can do some personal training, and then you end up running the PT department, is that right? Yeah, and that was over a course of a short period of time.
It was a short period of time, yeah.
And I know your boss back then very, very well, now your partner, and they keep very high standards.
Yes.
So you obviously met that, exceeded it. What was it like being in the fitness business on that like macro level?
When I first got into it, it was really easy. So I was really hesitant to doing it because when you've worked with a collegiate football team, when you have 85 Division I guys, and you got to write a workout plan for the offensive line, the defensive line, the quarterbacks, the receivers, and have them flow in a weight room, there's a little bit of stress and planning there so they can all get their adequate, the adequate workout that they need to be successful. So walking in and only having one person,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is easy. This isn't even gonna challenge me.
Yeah.
You know, and where I found the challenge was dealing with general population, and I really found a love of working with people that didn't have a sense of how to trust themselves, how to improve themselves, and how to get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the part that really kind of drove me home. And so then I was lucky I didn't have any bad habits to break. So I didn't know anything except for the pure fitness system. And it worked so well with my personality of just taking care of others and helping others that I was probably very blessed that I didn't get stuck at another venue first, because it probably could have ruined me and I would have just stayed in coaching.
Yeah. Well, and then they sold kind of shortly after you were there, only a year or so, right?
Yes, yeah. So I only worked for them for a year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened? How did you get reconnected with them?
So they sold out to LA Fitness. So I was like, well, I don't know LA Fitness. I'll give them a shot. And after 2 weeks, it just wasn't my fancy.
Yeah.
So I resigned, and then I just kind of worked as an independent trainer and kept coaching collegiately. You know, and so I was like, well, maybe this is my opportunity to get back to Division I. But none of my coaches were leaving. They were all just kind of staying at one spot. And coaching is a very tight-knit group because it's your job, you know, and if you bring in someone you don't know and they kind of go behind your back, it could cost you your job. So you have to be very selective on who you trust with your staff. And nobody was leaving. So I was like, do I stay with coaching, or do I maybe do something for myself? You know, where I can actually put down some roots and make a good livelihood for myself. So when my business partners now approached me about moving up to Washington and starting a fitness company, I was like, I turned them down twice.
Yeah.
Like back then I was like, oh man, you're an idiot. But I turned them down twice because I was like, nah, I'm just not sure what I wanted to do. And then, you know, I met with Eric Stearns one more time, and he was like, let's go do this. And I was like, you know what, let's go do this. So I worked hard, earned my partnership up there, and the rest is history.
It's awesome. Yeah, he's a closer.
He's a closer. He's determined.
Yeah. It's awesome. So then you came down here after being up in Washington for, what was it, 3 years, 4 years?
It was about 7.
7?
Yeah, it was 7 years.
Yeah, because we had worked with you guys
6 or
on
7.
the marketing.
Yeah.
I'm really ages. That's
I know.
That's crazy.
I know.
So you ended up selling those clubs up there, and then came down here. But at the time you were involved, I think, in something else, right? Studio Fit.
Yeah. So Eric was a silent partner in Studio Fit, which was more of a, I don't want to say a CrossFit affiliate, but similar ideas. So similar facility. And so he needed just someone to kind of help get it going. It gone through some ups and some downs. And so we were in the fresh beginning of Burn It, Build It Fitness. And so I didn't necessarily have to be at Burn It, Build It to be at Burn It, Build It. So I could help out with the studio, but yet do some programming and things like that for Burn It, Build It while we got it on the ground and got it running.
And Burn It, Build It's been in business how many years?
8 years in January.
Wow. Awesome. I remember the Avondale location when it was first opening.
Yes.
Yep. It's awesome. And that's the one that you were primarily at. You have 2 locations there in Midtown.
So they're in Midtown. So I'm kind of where I need to be. Yeah. So if I need to be in Avondale, I'm in Avondale. Midtown, I'll be at Midtown.
Awesome. So what makes Burn It, Build It different from a fitness standpoint, from like an actual exercise standpoint? So
the cool concept that Burn It, Build It has is when you look at most studios out there, it's so hard. You're constantly fighting perception versus reality of general population, what they need to do to be successful. You know, and so there's so much of if you want to lose weight, you got to do cardio, 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 cardio. And so a lot of those studios have kind of piggybacked on that mentality of like, hey, we want people to lose weight, they got to do cardio, which cardio does. It helps you lose weight. It doesn't help you lose fat, it helps you lose weight. And so they throw some weights in there because there's been a big push, especially the last 10, maybe 15 years, of how important strength training is on the body. Not just for males, but for females, right? And its ability to increase your bone density, improve your metabolism, longevity. And so they start throwing in some weights so that way you feel like you're getting your cardio in, but you're also getting some weight training in. The problem with the type of weights that they throw in is it's still in a cardio-based philosophy.
And what's an example of that?
So high intervals, right?
Okay.
40 seconds of lunges, right? 40 seconds of push-ups, or if you, you have to, if you want the body to change, you have to place a demand on the body. So grabbing 10 pounds and doing lunges for 40 seconds isn't going to get you stronger. It's a muscular endurance aspect, right? Because you can do so many lunges, it just burns out. Like it just starts to burn, but your body doesn't give out, right? If you go and you put 200 pounds on a back squat, you're not doing that for 40 seconds, right? You hit a series of numbers of reps and then your legs are like shaky. They can't do anymore. They're not just burning, but can keep continuing on, right? So one places a muscular demand and the other one's just a oxygen requirement, right? And as long as there's oxygen present, they'll keep going.
Right.
And so the studios, it's expensive to have that stuff, so it's what is kind of your bread and butter, what's your niche? And so everything stays predominantly cardio with some weights. What makes Burn It Build It special is we're actually a strength-based studio. So we actually have the ability to challenge you weight-wise. We have the ability to squat, deadlift, barbell, bent over row, bench press. We have the ability to slow you down so you feel it. You're sore. It forces your body to have to adapt. But we also have the ability to challenge your cardio, where we can do short interval sprints, right? We don't have to just waste time on the cardio where you're running there or rowing for long periods of time. We can accomplish the same thing cardio-wise with a lot smaller intervals. It was one of the things that I learned with my college teams, is I had a standard that they had to run 2 miles in for my basketball players and my soccer players, right? Is they had a standard they had to run 2 miles in. After they hit that standard, as long as you did enough short cardio bursts, then when I would retest their 2 miles every 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, they could still come within 5 seconds of their original time when we did our long distance things. So as long as you build that standard, you can maintain it without having to do the same things over and over and over again. And our members figured that out. We always do the Pat Tillman run every year. And so we never just have our members go run miles, ever. It's always some type of interval. But yet I have people that couldn't walk a mile in January. And they did the Pat Tillman, and they actually ran 4.2 miles at a 9:27 pace.
Wow.
And they'd never ran before. They'd never ran that far ever in their entire life. And they were shocked at the pace that they were able to do when they've never gone and run miles. And so once you get that standard of fitness, you don't have to waste your time doing all those things. You can do things that's going to actually shape and tone your body. And that's what we focus on at Burn It Build It, is your ability to look better, move better, but still improve your heart and lungs.
So you build up basically their foundation, and then from that foundation, start to work on the goals, more the physical aspects.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of your guys' classes, and I've lifted weights myself for a long time, and I saw, every time I watched a class, I'm like, I might die in here, and I'm joking.
Well, they're not easy.
Yeah, they're not easy. But what's cool is it's the class-based atmosphere, and what you take people through is, you got, some of the ladies, some of the guys are freaking sweating, and they're hating you or Nate or whoever's teaching the class, or John. But then there's like this esprit de corps where they like being there. There's a camaraderie to it that you guys have created. So what is that, like the philosophy of how you guys have created really a culture over there?
That's the hardest part of any gym, is to actually get them. We're so busy in our day-to-day things, and then especially ever since the lockdowns with COVID, is some people are very nervous about going around others, and so. We had built up this great community where they would stay after and socialize and foam roll, and they create just really great lifelong friends because they meet people that are like-minded, that are working towards the same goals that they are. And it doesn't necessarily mean weight loss, but they're working to be healthier. They're working to be better. They're working to feel better, move better, and then accomplish things that they didn't think they could do. Yeah. And so when you bring people that are kind of embracing that idea, and it's something that they've always wanted to feel a part of, and then you start to introduce them, and I think that's one of the beauties of the strength training aspect too, is they learn to help each other out. They learn to spot each other. They congratulate each other. And when you can get that community going, then you know you have something special.
Yeah, and you definitely have it, which is super cool.
Thank you.
There is something about like people embracing the suck together.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
You know,
it's so much more fun to suffer with others.
Yeah, I remember coming in a few months ago, and it was Mark Patton. You know, he was in the lobby, and his wife was there, and he had sweat just pouring down.
Absolutely.
And he said something along the lines of, "I fucking hate that workout. Kicked my ass." And I'm like, he's like, "But it was good. It was good." She's like, "Stop whining." It made me laugh.
Right? He's there for fancy coffee.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So the other side of fitness is nutrition.
100%.
And you guys have a very unique approach to nutrition. Can you kind of cover in general, like how do you help your members with that?
Yeah. So what makes nutrition difficult is there's 9 million things out there, right? And at Burn It, Build It, with nutrition, the biggest struggle I have with people and just all the people that I've helped is simplifying it. And it's not the exception, right? It's the everyday to-day thing, right? And so there's nothing more frustrating than being like, hey, you know, fish is a good high quality protein. And they're like, well, how much fish do I get mercury poisoning? And I'm like, are you going to eat that much fish? Like, I'm just trying to get you eating more lean proteins, fruits, and vegetables, right? If you look at the American diet, 70% of Americans are overweight, right? And my sister-in-law, she just started the nursing program. And they just did a recent study that says type 2 diabetes is going to increase within the next 5 years by 265%.
Wow.
265%.
That's insane.
And then I'm going in, and one of my members talked about her 14-year-old daughter is a pre-diabetic. And it's just like the food choices that we are eating, it's just not good.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, hey, let's teach you how to eat foods that you like to eat, but teach you how to balance it. Because there's a lot of education out there. And I'm gonna plug my trainers right now because we are demanding. You know, the standards I learned when I first entered the fitness industry, they are prevalent with us today. Not everybody can work with us. Just because you are certified, just because you got your degree, doesn't mean that you know anything about health and fitness and nutrition, and especially helping people. Okay? With all the trainers I have trained, none of them ever have an idea of what's going on until they come in the facility. They don't know how to fix people. They can talk programming, they can talk a good game, but when it comes to actually performance and actually helping others, you gotta find somebody who has experience. You gotta find people that actually are successful at what they do, that have been mentored. Because if they're just fresh out of the industry, it is hit and miss. You could have a good one, you might have someone that doesn't have a clue. And when you start throwing in all the different nutritional things that people do, there's not a lot of validity to it, right? And so it comes down to just the basics. What if we got rid of half of your fast food? What if we got in more fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins? You'll feel better, you'll move better, and you'll perform better in your workouts. I mean, perform better in your workouts, you usually want to eat a little bit better too. So if I can get you moving a little bit more, which with our programming, if you come in 3 to 4 times a week, make some small changes to your food, your body will have no choice but to change. It is simple. It is the law of thermodynamics. It is irrefutable. If you come in, your body will change. And if we can get you eating more lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats, after that point, now we just monitor where you're at and we can fine tune a few things here and there. But it's teaching people what is actually a carbohydrate and what it does to the body. Let's do some favorable ones. Let's do ones that necessarily don't spike your insulin as high, right? Anything over 35 grams of insulin is gonna spike you. So if you don't balance it out, it has a completely different effect on your body. And so for me, I'm an exercise physiologist. I care about what food does on the inside and how it affects the systems, right? So I don't need to, let's maximize our whole grains here. And do you have carbs for the energy that you need? Awesome. Are we balancing out with a protein and a fiber and a healthy fat so that way we're not spiking our blood sugar level, causing you to be a type 2 diabetic at the age of 15? We got everything we need. Now we can just fine tune it from there.
That's awesome.
So it simplifies it.
And you go through like an actual program with them, right?
Yep, we have a lot of different options breakdown to help them learn how to classify it, give them some tips for success, you know, but I'm never going to be the person that says eat this, this, and this, because then you don't ever learn, you know. And I mean, the cool thing I have about a lot of my clients and a lot about our clients at Burn It Build It is I can look at them and be like, how are we doing with our goals, right? And they'll be like, my food is off, I need to get back on my food. But they know exactly what to do because they've been taught how to eat, as opposed to just, oh, I need you to write down what to eat again. It's like, you already know, you just have to do it. You know, and so then they're like, yeah, my evenings have been bad, I got to clean that up, you know.
Well, and I know you guys have had a ton of success stories. So, you know, give me a couple. I remember we were all at lunch a couple months ago, and you gave me a few that I'm like, dang, real amazing success stories. You know, what have you been able to help people do?
You know, the cool thing about fitness is, I mean, beyond all of the weight loss or the muscle gain or the, you know, just life. You know, the thing I love about strength training and the strength training and hard programming is you get people that come in and they're very nervous, they're very timid. That's okay. We can you know, my trainers are great. We will modify for you. We'll get you through that workout. There's 9 million ways we can make you suffer. We'll find one that works for you, right? But what we do is you start to learn to trust yourself. You know, so you get a lot of females and sometimes guys too that come in and they're just not quite sure, and then they do something and they're impressed that they did it. So then they go a little harder, and then they go a little harder, and like you said, embrace the suck. You know, misery loves company. They start to learn to trust themselves, and they learn to push through hard reps, right? They learn to add a little bit more weight. They learn to trust the shaking. They learn their body's limits. And so their self-confidence just blossoms with this. You know, so we have a lady out in Avondale, and her and her mom are members with us, and she, you know, has 3 kids. She's going to nursing school, working a full-time job, just trying to make her life better. She was a former National Guard, so the minute she got out of the National Guard and she wasn't running all these, you know, miles upon miles, she just had 3 kids. She has 70 pounds to lose. And so she did our body transformation challenge, and she did awesome. She did a meal plan. She came to our nutritional seminar, and then she just came in and did our workouts. And she just followed it, and it was a 75-day challenge. And in 75 days, she lost 40 pounds, and she lost about 7% body fat. And now she is happy. She's got energy to chase her kids. She can get up and down. She's like, you know, I can't buy workout clothes. They just keep falling off. You know, and she's and after that 75 days, she's now down another 25 pounds. So now she went from being in a size 14, 16, she's in a size 6, and she is, her whole demeanor has changed. You know, she comes in, she talks to everybody, you know, and everyone notices, and they high-five her, and she, you know, tells them how awesome they are. You know, we had that lady with the Pat Tillman, she's down 45 pounds. They were our first and second place winners for our body transformation challenge, you know. And then at a Midtown, man, I mean, we have this great guy, his name is Trent, and he likes to lift weights, you know, but he'd never found a good program that was actually able for him to change his body. And so he lost about 4% body fat, put on 15 pounds of lean body mass, which is great. And it took him about 4 or 5 months to do so, but he went from having, you know, skinny arms and, you know, strong legs and, you know, to having a chest, and he has like a 6-pack, and he has shoulders and triceps, and now he's, you know, competing with Nate on his bench press, and he's trying to hit 275, and you know, and it's all within his goals of things that he's worked really, really hard to achieve. You know, we just did measurements on a lady at Midtown who just in the last 30 days, she's down 2% body fat, and she's down 8 pounds, and she lost 3 inches off her waist. So I mean, the stories are just
abundant, sounds like.
I could spend the rest of your time talking about our fantastic members and everything they've accomplished. You know, we have members that could never hike camelback before, and now they can hike camelback. You know, so it's not just the weight loss goals, but it's self-help. You know, it's the self-confidence they have, being able to get out and hike with friends, being able to lift weights, being able to, you know, run a 5K for the first time in their life. So it just goes on and on and on.
It's awesome. And I know another thing you guys do a lot of is like the prehab rehab side of things, because as people are working out, sometimes, you know, you're soreness turns into ailments, especially if you're doing
Yeah,
it wrong,
yeah.
which I know you guys are very corrective on all your exercises. But talk a little bit about the prehab, rehab things you offer.
Yeah. So really the benefit that we have with our prehab and recovery is I was an athlete. I saw a lot of injuries, and we had a fantastic athletic training program. So I mean, when you deal with ankles and ACLs and shoulders and all these other injuries, I mean, there just comes a point where you walk into the training room and the athletic trainer is like, all right, go do your heat pad, go hit your exercises, and you're, all right, do. And when you've been through it enough and you've seen it enough, you just kind of know what to do, So we don't diagnose anything that's outside of our field. That's not something we're interested in doing. We refer out for all that stuff. But when it comes down to, you have a little bit of sciatica, when you have tight hamstrings, when you have a little IT band syndrome, plantar fasciitis, patellar tendonitis, a lot of times what happens is when you work out and you place that demand on your body, you get knots.
Tight.
You get tight, right? And it's not necessarily a flexibility issue. It's just that we're causing inflammation on the muscles. That's how they get stronger. That's how you increase your lean body mass. That's how you burn more calories throughout the day. But sometimes they get knotted up. So if we don't address it, then it becomes a bigger problem. And so what we do is we recommend that you take 10 minutes a day working on your flexibility, your mobility, trigger pointing, foam rolling, whatever you need to do. And if you do that, then you never have to play catch up. But if you ignore it and you go in and you work hard, eventually your body's going to lose. Eventually it breaks down a little bit. You look at Tom Brady. He's a huge plug. I mean, look at what he's been able to do, but he spends 2 hours a day between masseuses and physical therapists and athletic trainers doing trigger pointing and myofascial release to constantly, help out with his knots, especially as we age. Now that 21-year-old, they're not doing much, but as they age, they sure will. I mean, we always used to joke around freshman year, when the coaches come in, you got to be ready to go. No matter what they got planned, you got to be ready to sprint if they want you to sprint. And your freshman year, you're sitting over there and you're socializing and you're not doing anything. And then all of a sudden, and you laugh at the juniors and seniors that are working on their 25, 30-minute warm-up, hitting their dynamic warm-up, their tin soldiers, getting some blood flow going. And then all of a sudden, your junior year hits and you're like, I understand why they're doing that now. The freshmen are over there and they're making fun of you and you're like, you don't know yet, son. Don't worry, it'll hit you.
Pull a hammy.
Yep. And so it's like I got to stay on the court. I want to keep my routine because it's hard to get out of the routine. And there's such a mental aspect to working out and just the hormones it gives you and the way you feel. It sucks to get out of the habit. The 5 months we were closed with COVID was hard. I mean, it was hard on me, but I saw how it affected our members. I saw the anxiety, the depression, just the one thing that made them feel good they couldn't do. And so it was really an eye-opener of how important it is to move.
Awesome. No, and you guys really have the total package, and I love it because when you walk in at the Midtown location, it says excellence is the standard, and it's on the wall. Is it on the wall in Avondale? I haven't been over there in a while.
No.
Yeah. You guys need to do that.
We need to put it on there. I know. It's on my to-do list.
Yeah, tell John. He'll like me for that.
Chop.
Yeah. But that's true, and everything about it. And we've talked about the way you train your trainers, and you talked a little bit about it. It's like, hey, you might have a degree or certification, but here's the way we do things because this is the way that gets people results. And I've seen people that you guys have had to let go with the reason they weren't getting the results. They weren't given the energy, coaching the classes, and I think that's admirable. There's a lot of companies out there that will just keep anybody to make sure somebody shows up for the class.
Yeah, coaching's hard.
Yeah.
Fixing people, I mean, you'll tell the same person 15 times. You'll tell the same person for 3 years, but movement matters, and it's how we keep our members long term. I mean, we still have the very first member we ever signed up.
Really? That's amazing.
Yep. We still, actually, the first 5 people we signed up, they're still members with us today.
Wow.
And there's a lot of places that can't say that, but I can literally name them all off, and they've been members with us for over 8 years.
Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, it's amazing. So how can people try you out, and where you at?
Yeah, so we have 2 locations. So we have one out in Avondale, kind of in the West Valley, and then we have one off of a Midtown location that's kind of 7th Street in Bethany Home. And so you can go to our website, BBFitAZ, prehab.com, and we offer 2 free classes. So that way you can come in, try it, and see if we're for you. Give us an opportunity to earn your business.
Awesome.
You know, so give us a call. We got, numbers, websites out there. Give us an opportunity. We'll change your life.
Awesome. And then you can find you on Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram, Facebook. Yep, it's all out there.
Awesome.
Follow us. Yeah.
Well, this is great, guys. Hey, I know you got some good information out of this. If you're looking for a lifestyle change for your fitness, go check them out. Go in, try the 2 free classes. You'll love it. And if you like this show, give us a like, put a comment down, and then subscribe to the show. We got a lot of great podcasts coming up. Laura, thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely.
We will see you all next time.